Hola and welcome to The Downshift, hosted by Huppy, Lockie, Schwags and myself, KT. Whereas in this episode, we will do the review of the Sao Paulo Grand Prix. Got it right this time, unlike last week.
Grand
Prix.
What's a Grand Prix? Anyway.
Grand Prix. Fix it in the edit, it's fine.
Where we saw Kimi Antonelli celebrate his first P2, the cost of a little bit of moisture in the sprint race, an unexpected quali, a disappointing day for Ferrari, and another GP that did not fail to deliver.
Where was that Grand Prix?
Sao Paulo.
Well done.
Excellent. Pass.
Tick.
Pass.
So all this and more.
Lights out.
Drop the clutch.
And let's get racing.
Hello, welcome to The Downshift. As I continue to try and work out how to pronounce track names and just speak general Portuguese, but
failing.
When's that stopped us before? So, as we saw, Interlagos did not fail to deliver. We had 304,000 spectators in the new stands which had an extra 40,000 people, where we actually saw a dominant weekend for Kimi Antonelli. And from our resident weather guru, the predictions were spot on. Well done, Lockie.
Well done, Lockie. Better than our other predictions.
We won't talk about those. They're in the past.
We'll get to those later.
Yeah, we'll see how bad we were then. But and look, as much as I tried to do my rain dance through in the entire week, even a tropical cyclone did not hamper proceedings.
Max didn't need a rain to help him.
No, neither did Lando. Eventually.
Well, no, and we saw Norris, who extended his lead over Piastri to 24 points. As much as we're supporting the Papaya and Oscar, unfortunately wasn't a good weekend for him.
I was going to say, could have been a bit better if he, drove on the track for the sprint race and might have got him some more points out of that. But we'll cover that later on. That's okay.
Yeah.
And for those who like a little bit of history, it was awesome to see Williams' livery sporting the Gulf blue and orange.
What a great livery.
Yeah.
Just a shame we didn't see much of it because I was so far down the back.
Yeah.
Best looking cars on track for the weekend. That was just a
definitely
great paint job.
The Gulf colours are iconic. Very good. Yep.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I actually thought the way that they did it made the car look beefier. It looked as though it had a lot more presence and a lot more bulk to it as well.
It looked faster.
Well, it actually wasn't.
It wasn't, but it looked faster.
It did look good. It stood out. It was nice. Nice to look at.
Yep.
So I can't believe that I'm saying this, but I'm really looking forward to talking about the sprint race.
Get out.
Yes. No, we saw the sprint where there was quite a lot going on. We saw Lawson putting Behrman into a spin, and I love the fact that Lawson's there going, what am I meant to do? He's ran me off into the grass, and then Behrman just comes back and goes, typical Lawson.
Yeah, I saw that.
To be fair, it's not unexpected from him to do that. So,
No, there's a reason why we've nicknamed him Punchy.
I mean, going off to the grass is never a good thing, let alone when it's wet.
No. But we did see some action, and it was good. The other good thing was that we had probably half the field start on mediums and half start on soft, so we were always going to get a bit of a tyre delta through the race, which was good.
And then we saw that come lap 6. Now, there's been a bunch of memes going around claiming this to be a bit like Mario Kart, where the claim was that Norris had ran close to the corner, threw some water onto the track, but then we saw Piastri, Colapinto, and then Hulkenberg come through and spin out at turn 3, going into the wall. So thoughts in regards to that impact on Oscar team?
Well, it was a bad impact. He had an impact with the wall, if that's what you're talking about. But
it's an unfortunate racing incident, but at the end of the day, it is what it is.
No, but to be fair, Oscar was consistently, he was consistent. He consistently putting it into the wall. It's becoming a bit of a habit these last few races. You've got to say, haven't you?
Yeah, it's
Well, his weekend was still better than Bordoleto's after he was, trying to be the hometown hero, and not the greatest weekend for him.
It was interesting that Bordoleto, I think, was it Bordoleto that said that? No, who was it? Someone said that Norris dragged water onto the track. Who was ahead of him?
Antonelli.
Antonelli, yeah.
Antonelli, yes. Yep.
And when you looked at the replay, they showed a bit of a replay from Antonelli and from Oscar, and just in the distance around that curve, you could see Lando hit the curb or go over the curb, and there was a pretty big spray of water that appeared. But I'd find it hard to believe that would really impact, 3 cars following in quick succession. But it's a pretty big coincidence that 3 of them went off. But I don't know if they were all hitting that curb on previous laps. So, but yeah, definitely very slippery on that curb when it's wet.
Contrary to the memes, clearly that wasn't deliberate, but it was interesting that they all lost the rear. What was the rear left that they stepped out on? So the water would have been there anyway. But
that's
and they could have. It could have been a matter of inches that they touched it just that much far, and then bang, that was enough to lose traction and flick the car.
It's not a grippy sort of curb, on the best of days. And especially when it's wet, you want to be avoiding that because they're partial throttle through there. Because if they're full throttle, it just lights up the rears. So a treacherous sort of corner in the wet.
I think Carew did a comparison between Oscar and Lando and said Oscar was full throttle out of that when he went through. But
might have, maybe, yeah. When it was dry.
They did also show Max, who had the same incident, but he also apparently had a bit of a slip up, but managed to control it and stay on the course.
I mean, it was, at least it did add a fair bit of spice to the race because it brought a safety car back out. It was a red flag and everyone had to stop, and a few people got a chance to do some repairs at least.
Hulkenberg ducked in and put a new nose cone on, which helped. So
put a new nose cone on, but I think his rear ring was damaged too, wasn't it?
Yeah, because he spun completely.
Really hard to say deliberate because, I mean, to be able to deliberately go and target a spot of water, knowing that you're going to put that across the track to impact the drivers behind you, it's a really tall error.
I mean, ridiculous.
I think Norris doesn't do himself any favours when at the end of the race he has a little bit of a chuckle about it, and he's got George ribbing him saying, this guy's as smart as a quid. But, from that regards, you saw that it was 3 drivers who had the same hiccup, all 3 of them hitting the corner, spinning out, and it was only Hulkenberg who was just lucky enough not to get a massive amount of damage, was able to limp it back to the pits for that repair.
3 drivers that had a really bad incident, but then the rest that didn't.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
A lot of drivers that made it through without any issue.
And just a quick question to the group here now. Did anyone else fear that at the end of that sprint race that we'd seen all the action for the weekend and it was just going to be like a bit of a procession? Because I was like, oh my God, all the action's been in the sprint race. We're going to go back to a procession again. I'm very happy to be proven wrong, but I got to the end of that sprint race and I went, oh God, that was a good sprint race, which I hate to say that, but it actually was a good sprint race action.
Your forecast was for dry weather for the race. So I was expecting it might be a little bit processional, but we'll get to that.
Everyone was praying for rain, so I mean, it was this case. Whatever can mix this thing up. So, but we saw that after the spin outs on lap 6, and Happy, to your point, it was a red flag. But contrary to what the rules state, is we actually had a rolling start to the restart of the race, where under a red flag, normally you would line back up on the grid and have a static start. But race control decided to do that. So for me, it just begged belief in regards to that because it wasn't wet. So it was safe enough to do a proper restart.
Yeah, well, they must have determined that they needed to do a rolling start for a reason. I don't know what that was, but I didn't mind at the end of the day, as long as they got racing again and it bunches the fuel back up. So it always makes it a bit more interesting.
And it got the sprint race over faster, so it was not all bad.
But speaking of the finish of the sprint race, we did see local hero Gabby Bordoleto, who on lap 24 went for a pass on Albon and spectacularly hit the left wall before turn 1, rocketing it through into the far wall on turn 1.
He had air.
He was airborne.
The replay showed he was off the ground and floating across.
He'd seen the V8s in Queensland, in Gold Coast a few weeks ago, and he was a bit jealous about that.
He was trying to emulate it, but they actually went straight ahead. He was actually going sideways, so a bit less control that way. Yeah.
And lucky that he was okay. And I mean, if you look back years ago, this would have been a fatality. Apparently, he hit the wall at 37 Gs.
That was the first hit. He hit 37 on the inside, and it measured at 54 Gs on the second hit. So all up, two massive impacts. And some of the photography out there, if people are looking on social channels, there's a few photos of Bordoleto's car, like mid-crash, just coming to pieces, and it's incredible. And you look at it and think, geez, how do you walk away from accidents like that? He was doing 339 kilometres an hour when he crashed.
And he got up, walked out, waved and said, "I'm okay."
Thank God for the home crowd. They would have been pretty worried. So, yeah, it was a massive, massive incident.
And just lucky that he didn't take anyone else out. I mean, it was, a bee's whisker that it was going past Albon into that corner. So it could have been.
If you look at that move, was there any possible way he was actually going to make that move? Like, that was a late break, really hard dive down the inside.
Look, you
I couldn't see how he'd pull that up.
Yeah, it was ambitious. Yeah, obviously.
It's hard to tell because it looked like as soon as he hit the gas, he just went sideways. Like he didn't even get past Albon before he wasn't sideways. It's just like he moved a bit off the racing line, hit the gas, and then it was just from then
the rear went round. And once the rear moved, you're a passenger, like especially at that speed. Like there's no, what do? You're going to hit something pretty hard.
And Lockie, I know you joked when you made the comment in regards to the track preview about how many times I span off in regards to that. But coming into that first corner, if you're not very careful on the brakes, you will spin out very easily. So needless to say...
Can I just correct you? That wasn't a joke.
But when recording that is, the number of times spinning out coming into that first corner, because what you've got is the camber, but also the downhill. So as you're coming around that corner, you're going down the hill into the S's. So you're getting a whole lot of different dynamics that the car is dealing with. Any change to the inputs on that car is just going to throw it out completely. So, yeah, to your point, there was no way that he was going to be able to pass that quickly through that corner.
And they did a mega job trying to get that car fixed for quali as well. They only just missed out getting him out. I think the clock had just finished in the first quali Q1, and he was hopping in the car. So they only missed it by probably 3 or 4 minutes, something like that. Yep. It was a mega job by the team to try and get him out there.
So we saw from the sprint, we had Norris, who was on pole, who took out first place, followed by Antonelli and then Russell. Happy, as you're talking about going into quali, we saw a very unexpected result as we went into quali. We saw Max Verstappen, who did not get past Q1, which is just unfathomable.
They just missed that. They must have missed the setup in a pretty big way, because he just complained about no grip and the car was difficult. And yeah, we all know what Max is like. Usually he can drive around a problem and pull something out, but yeah, he just didn't seem to get close. And their Ferrari, Hamilton struggled as well, and Mercedes really took advantage. They nailed a setup like McLaren did. McLaren looked quick, Mercedes looked quick, and got a good result. But it also made for an interesting top 10, to have, was Alonso up there in a good position. Behrman did well. So there were a couple other names up there. Hulkenberg, I think, was 10th. So it's nice in that respect, because if some of the top guys falter, we get a bit of midfield action getting up there in the top 10, and that always makes for a better race as well. So yeah, it was interesting to see.
Bit of a pseudo reverse grid.
Yeah, in some ways, yeah.
Well, the commentators were saying that that's the first time both Red Bulls have missed Q1, and the last time that happened, Kimi Antonelli was 9 days old.
Yeah, I could well imagine.
He probably doesn't remember it, but that was the last time both Red Bulls missed, were knocked out in Q1.
Yeah.
So that's how often it doesn't happen.
It was a shocker. And I guess, for that reason, they decided they'd, start Max from pit lane. Why not? And make whatever changes they needed just to try and make that car more competitive for the feature race.
I'm not sure about you, Happy, but I was more crushed because I tipped Max to get pole than anything else. But besides that,
the chatter at the start, they were talking about has anyone started from pit lane and won a race? And I was hoping the stat would be yes, or that Max might set that record. But I think the best result was second place. I think it had been done twice from two people starting from pit lane. Prost was one of them a long time ago. So mega job from Max in the end. He nearly got us home. We nearly got a few points for the win there, that prediction, but not quite.
So apparently Max has set the record from podiums from the most different
starting
positions.
Yeah.
Different starting positions.
So, well, why don't we start from the back and we'll work our way forwards? We thought Max had a stellar drive last year going from P17 to P1, but we now saw from P19 to P3. An absolute dominant race for Max through that. Little bit of luck thrown in for good measure as well.
Well, you sort of have to feel for Behrman, like probably his best weekend that he's had, up in there, and then Max comes and steals driver of the day, coming from 19th to 3rd. You're like, Behrman's had a fantastic run, even Antonelli as well, and it's just been overshadowed by Max just carving his way through the pack.
True,
like,
but I think he deserved it. Like especially when they sorted the setup for him, so he must have known a couple of laps in. Yep, this is feeling pretty good. And at that point, if you're starting last, like he said to his engineer near the end of the race, we've got nothing to lose. So he just had license to push hard, pit when they needed to pit, and just absolutely go for it, which he did. So must be refreshing rather than having to manage tyres, manage stints. He just had to go all out and do his best.
And he had a puncture in the first couple of laps as well.
Yeah, the hard tyre, puncher in the top and then the right-hand side. So he came in, then had to swap him out for mediums and go again. So
do that and still finish where he finished was just an exceptional drive.
But Happy, you do mention about tyre strategies and the like, and we're seeing again with the Pirellis lasting almost forever. We had Liam Lawson who ended up doing 52 laps on the medium. So the question being with Max is whether or not he even needed to have the second pit stop, because it would have been that he needed to do he would have done 37 laps on the medium to finish the race.
But he was pushing hard. I think the difference though here was that with the offset, you could still overtake because of those DRS zones and the long straight. So at other circuits, yes, that you could manage the tyre and still defend from someone behind you on fresher tyres. But I think what we saw in Brazil was there was quite a bit of overtaking. So from early on in the race, teams knew that, okay, we can go to a softer tyre or a fresh tyre. We'll have 1.5 second advantage, which is enough to get past someone on track. So, which is great. We got to see overtaking. We got to see some action. People were just choosing the best tyre for that current time of the race for them. It was good.
And looking in regards to it, we had Lando Norris, who essentially dominated the race, controlled it all the way through. But we had Kimi Antonelli with his first P2. And we also, Lockie, to your point, had Ollie Behrman, who had one of the best races of his life.
And credit to him. I mean, when you're driving a tractor and you can have a consistent drive on the weekend, let's be fair. Like, the Haas is not exactly a stellar performance in terms of straight line speed and all that, but he drove the doors off that thing this weekend. Even because he was high up the entire weekend for all the practice and the qualifying and everything like that. He had that car just dialed in for the weekend. And then, full credit also to Antonelli holding off Max Verstappen for the last few laps as well. He took out of the corners got the right lines when he needed to, and obviously had enough the battery to get him out of the way to hold off Max. Full credit to him as well. I thought his drive was outstanding on the weekend.
And not only that, he also bested George for the weekend. Like he was quick in practice, quali, race. Like it was one of the very few weekends this year where he's been consistent and hasn't made any mistakes, and being able to keep that pace up. So yeah, I think Mercedes would have been really happy with how he performed.
It was a shame Oscar didn't get a bit closer to George, because I was hoping to hear him complain about how he had a McLaren up his arse again.
Yeah.
Well, didn't George have brake problems towards the end? Like he was
his
worried brakes
about
almost
it.
cooked or something.
Yeah. I think they had to manage a little bit. I mean, another couple of laps, Dan. I think Oscar probably would have had him, but it was a good close finish though.
It was a good race. It was actually fun to watch that one. Overtakings, challenges, everything. It had a lot.
It's nice when there's 10 laps to go and you're not too sure how it's going to finish up. Like, positions could still change, something could still happen. Yeah.
Yeah, even at the end, like I was watching them as they get the checkered flag when they come down the tower, it's like they're all, the first three, were close, but then even a bit further down the field, they're all pretty close coming over the line.
Yeah. Oh, the midfield, there was a huge pack. They're all separated by, 3/10 or something. So it was very close at the end. Yeah.
So we had Max Verstappen, who was voted driver of the day through the poll on Sky Sports. But if we go around the the screen here is driver of the day for each of us. Who was it and why? Lockie, what were your thoughts?
I'd have to give it to Verstappen, probably closely. Next would be Antonelli, but purely from the drive that he did on the setup and the way he pushed that car. When you watched how he was in qualifying the day before with, I can't drive this thing, it's undrivable, to carving the way through the pack, that well deserved. And yeah, I agree, he had driver of the day.
I think Max was just being Max, but yeah, I think Kimi did a good job. He had the pressure, maybe not early, but he had the pressure towards the end from Max to, and just had to hold stead and keep driving well. And he did, and held on to it.
100% Max Verstappen, unquestionable driver of the day.
Christian, your thoughts?
Oh, look, for me, not counting out Max's performance, but for me, it was the race of the rookies, and it actually showed out of the bunch of rookies, the ones that are really shining, which is Antonelli and Behrman. And I've even, as listening through in regards to some of the talk amongst the traps with Behrman, is whether or not Behrman's going to be called up to Ferrari even sooner than we'd imagine, given the fact that Lewis is just not getting anything out of that car. And not that Lewis is not capable of doing that, and obviously needs a good car to be able to perform. But with the performance of Behrman in the Haas with the Ferrari engine, that he is a Ferrari junior driver, that there's the chance that maybe not next year, but 2027 we'll see Behrman in the red car, either replacing Hamilton, or even if Charles Leclerc has had enough and decides that he needs to go somewhere else where he can actually get a better result.
Interesting.
I think he's proving at the moment that he would be a very good choice to consider. Like he's driving really well, and Antonelli as well, and Hadjar too has been very solid. He had a good race as well. Frustrated on the radio a couple of times, I heard, but also had a good race as a rookie.
All right, so you two at the top, you've been dancing around this thing all night. So lap 6, virtual safety car, restart, Piastri goes into turn 1 and go.
That was interesting, wasn't it? I think the discussion after the race has been interesting because Leclerc said that Piastri wasn't entirely to blame for that. When I saw it happen, I thought, well, obviously Antonelli had left the door open. Oscar was up his inside. And if that happens at turn 1 there, you need to leave that driver some space because they do have nowhere to go. The curb is quite large on the inside as you get over the curb. So I can see why Oscar would claim that Antonelli turned in on him, didn't leave him enough space. It looked really 50-50 to me. Like, I don't know. I thought a 10-second penalty might be a bit unfair for that. But, stewards with stewards. But it was interesting to hear some of the comments afterwards that maybe Piastri wasn't entirely to blame for that one.
And to your point, Huppy, and when the stewards look at this, it's that whole point around now claiming the corner. So Oscar coming in, as Charles was saying, is Kimi turned as though Oscar wasn't there. Oscar had actually come in and claimed the corner, but I think what did it for Oscar was the fact that he locked up. Because he locked up, he didn't have control of the vehicle, and so therefore, based on the rules, is if you do not have control of the vehicle, then you're considered to be at fault, and so hence the reason why you got the 10-second penalty. I, too, believe it was probably a little bit too harsh, and to Charles' point, he said that Kimi had as much responsibility in regards to that incident as well. But yeah, look, for me, it was a racing incident.
You've got to assume, though, that Kimi knew he was there. You can see him coming up on the inside. So the only thing that's going to happen if you cut down on someone in that corner is you're going to get turned around or punted. So why would you do that? Like, the way to get through that corner from the middle position there is to run a bit wider, run out, take the apex of the next right-hander. Like, he could have done that. So, yeah, I don't know. You could look at it from both sides. Tough one.
Yeah, look, the rule book's pretty thick, I imagine, and I don't know all the ins and outs of it, but yeah, it did look like he had the corner in front, but he didn't have control because he lost that wheel front. He lost it for a long time. Like, there was a long skid there going into that corner. And Kimi had room to go wider.
It also didn't look like Oscar was going to plough straight ahead. You know what I mean? He was still turning into the corner. The front left was locked a bit, yeah, but he still had rotation in the car. That's what it seemed to me anyway. It'd be different if he was braking, locked up, and ploughed straight into the side of Antonelli, but he didn't seem to do that.
Well, it was interesting that Leclerc turned around and said, I would expect him to do that every single time that opportunity was there, and he held no ill malice against that
course.
because of that. And I can't remember which commentator said, he goes, 100%, if that door's there, he goes, you drive that up there
You do it every
single
time.
You
Hard
would not
racing.
brake, you would do it. Now, my thing is, if you're looking, Antonelli had to know he was there because his front tyre was at his front tyre at the start, like just before that, and then he moved off slightly. So there's no way Antonelli didn't know that he was next to him for that corner. And there was enough space that they could have almost gone 3 abreast around there. But racing's racing, and unfortunately he copped it. Yuki copped it for turning around Stroll, I think it was, as well previously. So 10-second penalty is 10-second penalty.
Double 10-second penalty because they didn't serve the 10-second penalty correctly.
Well, yeah, they had to go back and do another one. That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Apparently they touched the car or something.
Too early. Yeah.
Well, let's be honest. Yuki wasn't exactly challenging for pole position anyway, so it's really not going to be.
Look, and I don't want to say return to form because we saw that Oscar was not on his full game this weekend. But, from that race, without the 10-second, Oscar would have taken P2. And so that 10-second put him behind down to P5, whereas he would have been only 5 seconds behind Norris. Now, as to whether or not fortunes may have changed with what was going on, who's to say? But we're now seeing that with this, as we move on to the championship standings, this has now put Norris in a 24-point lead over Piastri and a 49-point lead over Verstappen. So we can jump into the championship standings. So I'll throw the chart up there that shows that we now have that Norris, who has taken quite a substantial lead for the championship, and with only 3 races to go, it puts Norris in the position where, and I'll extrapolate this out, where all of a sudden Norris could actually come second in all 3 races to Piastri and still take out the championship. I've got this predicting him being 20 points ahead by the end of this year.
I was working some predictions on the couch this afternoon, and my theory is that weekend after, Max Verstappen's going to take out Norris, so they both get no points. Piastri's going to win, and we're back square again. So that's how it's going to work for the way.
He'd be ahead by 1. Do you get 25 points for a win?
Yeah, he'd be up by 1. So we'll change the table again. Yeah.
Is that going back a few races where Max had said it was noted?
That's my theory. Yep.
Well, McLaren last year weren't that strong in Vegas, I don't think, and neither was Red Bull. I think it was really Ferrari and Mercedes that were pretty quick around there. So tipping our predictions for Vegas will be interesting. But McLaren was strong around Qatar and Abu Dhabi, so you would expect they'd be hoping for some pretty good results there. But I agree with you, KT. I think it's probably Lando's championship to lose now, and I think Oscar showed better pace this weekend, but it still wasn't quite at the same level as Lando. And he made comments like to that effect as well after the race and said that obviously there was the mistake where he called a mistake, bumping into Antonelli, but he didn't quite. There's still a few things he's got to work out. Now, whether that's with regards to the anti-dive setups they're running, if they're on different setups still at the moment or not, I'm not quite sure, but he's got a little bit of work to do.
I did see
he's got a lot of work to do.
Well, he's got to win the next 3 rounds. That's
when he was chasing Norris,
24 points down with 3 races to go.
We've got a sprint race to come, haven't we, still?
How's his performance been in sprint races to date?
Piastri's been better than Norris apart from this weekend. He's been better than both Norris and Verstappen in the previous sprint races. So
no, you're right. He's on form. He's on form for sprint races.
Even trying to chase Norris down, like Norris was pulling away from him during the race and he got out to like a 4-second break. So even when he was sitting behind him, Norris was still able to accelerate away from him. So at this point in time, he's still not at that same intensity level that Norris is.
Yeah, so Qatar in 2 rounds' time is another sprint round, as it was last year. So it's the last one of the season. We've got 1 more sprint round to go. So there's a few more points up for grabs in that one as well.
And you were talking, Christian, that, Vegas was better for Ferrari. Well, to be fair, they would be hoping for a better weekend in Vegas than what they had this weekend. So
shocker.
Yeah, I mean, given that you had a double DNF, Mercedes is now, even Red Bull Racing has now overtaken Ferrari. Ferrari's 4 points behind Red Bull.
Max Bull Racing.
Max Bull Racing.
I heard them say at one stage, I think the comment was, Red Bull, the Red Bull team have done really well this weekend. I'm like, you mean Max?
Well,
What are
maybe
they
they're
talking
including
about?
the Racing Bulls as well, because the Racing Bulls had a good weekend. But you look and go, I mean, there's what, just ignore Williams is probably a bit far out now, but from the Racing Bulls, it's what, 82, 72, 70. Racing Bulls, Aston and Haas, they're all in a big fight there.
Kick Sauber was only 8 points behind Haas. They just need one weekend with a few things going their way to pick up another 8 points, and they're equal. So, yeah, there's something like $30 million up for grabs between those positions. So that's a really good fight.
Yeah, because essentially, I mean, for each position you climb, it's roughly about $10 million. I mean, as an estimate. And to your point, Kick Sauber 8 points behind Haas, but we've also got Haas who's only 2 points behind Aston Martin. So, I mean, with Ollie doing really well this weekend, he's just got to have a couple more good performances, and he's just earned the team another $10 million, which I'm sure they'll be wanting.
Yeah, that's funny that they've got some of those teams that have some good rounds, some bad rounds. Like Aston Martin was also strong in Brazil, so I guess they'll all be really hoping they can find that sweet spot for the next 3 rounds.
Now, speaking of hoping to find sweet spots, I know no one wants to. Well, maybe one of us does. Moving to the hotly contested downshift predictions. Max let us all down. So,
yeah. We didn't make much progress, did we?
What? Is it a two in front of mine?
I can officially say I made none.
Yeah, Schwag. So the magic hat has pulled through for you with a total of 4 points to Lockie, Happy, and my 0.
0.
Is this the best weekend for the magic hat in a long time now? Because you picked a couple up the other week as well. So
this is his equal best weekend.
There you go. See,
there you go. See, you've all mocked it. I'm coming for you, Lockie. I'm coming for you.
Relentlessly, mate. Relentlessly.
Lockie, are you feeling nervous?
If I'd say I was nervous, I'd be lying. But let's continue on.
So, Happy, after I made the bold prediction to try and take the moral high ground, it did absolutely nothing for me. No. We're still sitting with you at the lead at 41, followed by myself at 40. Lockie sitting at 36, and Schwag's moving up to a grand total of 23. So, Watch out.
You're going to have to go down a limb for Vegas and just turn the tips upside down, I think. We'll just have to change it all up.
So, Lockie, to your point, we've only got one episode this week as the drivers get a break this weekend as they head back above the equator for Viva Las Vegas, with only 3 races to go and 1 sprint race.
Can I ask a question? Are you, for the Vegas race, for when we do this, are you going to be dressing up in your Elvis costume with the hair as well, or can we expect that for the
challenge accepted?
I'm just pleased it's a racetrack he can pronounce.
I'll wait for it. I'll stuff something up.
We haven't done the episode yet. Hold on, Dan. Hold on.
You know, we wouldn't mind actually gaining a few subscribers, don't you?
Look, I love it when they drive past the Bellagio.
Oh, geez.
Okay. Anyway, thanks for joining us. Really appreciate
it. So, as I stumbled to try and pronounce my Portuguese, it is adios from the Downshift team. And we'll see you on the next lap.